But I came away believing that the leadership of the Christian right cruelly manipulates the despair of its followers and poses a danger to our open society. Dr. James Luther Adams, my ethics professor at Harvard Divinity School, told us that when we were his age, he was then close to 80, we would all be fighting the Christian fascists. The warning, given to me more than 3 decades ago, came in a moment Pat Robertson and other radio and tele-evangelists began speaking about a new political religion that would direct its efforts at taking control of all institutions, including mainstream denominations, and finally the government. Its stated goal was to use the United States to create a global Christian empire. It was hard at the time to take such fantastic rhetoric seriously, especially given the buffoonish quality of those who expounded it. But Adams warned us against the blindness caused by intellectual snobbery. The fascists, he said, were not going to return with brown shirts. Their ideological heirs would wrap fascism in the Christian cross and the American flag and hold mass recitations of the Pledge of Allegiance. Adams saw in the Christian right, long before we did, disturbing similarities with the German Christian church, similarities that he said would, in the event of prolonged social instability accompanied by economic decline, see American fascists, under the guise of religion, rise to dismantle the open society. He despaired of liberals who, he said, as in Nazi Germany, mouthed platitudes about dialogue and inclusiveness that made them ineffectual and impotent. Liberals, he said, did not understand the power and allure of evil, nor the cold reality of how the world worked. Like Bonhoeffer, he did not believe that those who would fight effectively in coming times of turmoil, a fight that for him was a fundamental part of the biblical call, would come from the church or the liberal, secular elite. Adams told us to watch closely what the Christian right did to ethnic and religious minorities, as well as those who did not adhere to rigid sexual stereotypes. He watched the Nazis use moral, quote-unquote, values to launch state repression of opponents. Hitler, days after he took power in 1933, imposed a ban on all homosexual and lesbian organizations. He ordered raids on places where homosexuals gathered, culminating with the ransacking of the Institute for Sexual Science in Berlin. Thousands of volumes from the Institute's library were tossed into a bonfire. The assault was cheered by the German churches. Adams said that the GBLTQ community, Muslims, immigrants, and poor people of color would be the first deviants singled out by the Christian right, but we would be the next. I remember thinking his warning was perhaps too apocalyptic. But nearly 4 decades later, the power brokers in the Christian right have moved from the fringes of society to the floor of the House of Representatives and the Senate, the White House, the judiciary, and major government departments.